Giants last night signed Russell Wilson to a 1-year deal, $10 million off the top, incentives up to $21 million. I'm pretty pumped about this deal right off the bat, guys, because this is something that the Giants haven't had in quite some time. Is a good quarterback, especially one that could throw the ball down the field. We've got a lot to talk about in this episode. We'll start with Russell Wilson. We'll talk about Jameis Winston. We'll talk about how this improves the entire offense and why having a quarterback or a couple capable quarterbacks is a good thing compared to what we've had recently. We'll talk about the upcoming draft and then some personal updates as well, and then answer any questions that you guys have as we're going through it. And my wife's probably going to kill me from doing this again in the kitchen this live stream because the place is a mess as we're moving, but we'll talk about it at the end. Diving into the Russell Wilson stuff, there was a lot of negativity right off the bat about people just being not happy with this. They're talking the Giants are stupid. Why would they do this? It makes no sense. They already signed Jameis. And here's the thing, going into this over a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago at this point, the only Giants quarterback on this roster was Tommy DeVito. Not a good option for going into the next season. So they signed Jameis Winston. I guess we could get started by talking about Jameis because we didn't talk about him on a live stream yet. Then we'll talk about Russell. Then we'll talk about where we are today. So signing Jameis to a 2-year, I think it was $8 million total deal, probably some incentives in there too, is a no-brainer to get another veteran quarterback in the room that if he had to be the starter, there were a lot of great memes over that time period of, Giants going 4 and whatever, but Malik Neighbors is going to have 2,000 receiving yards and 25 touchdowns. But and that immediately opens up the offense to a different dynamic, is just throwing the ball down the field with Jameis. So, but with what they paid Jameis, there had to be the baseline understanding that what they're giving him was going to be backup quarterback money. And that wasn't starting money that they gave him. He was like $4 million a year as a quarterback in the NFL is very, very low. Give a goog to what quarterback salaries are, and you'll see that's like $4 million a year is absolutely bottom of the barrel. So with that, he was never really going to be the starter. They just envisioned it as another body to come in that if he has to play, great. He might be able to win a couple games here or there. At least the offense isn't going to fall off a cliff like it would if you had Tim Boyle or I don't even know, Drew Lock or anyone else that the Giants had Tommy DeVito over the last few years. So I think that's why they did the Jameis move. They needed more quarterbacks in the quarterback room. And I still don't think, even with this Russell Wilson signing, they could be completely out of contention of drafting a quarterback too. So I think the 2-year deal is perfectly fine for Jameis. If it, hopefully we don't have to see him play because either Russell Wilson or someone else has done a great job. But the last few years, let's just look at what the data has shown. 2 seasons ago, we saw Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, Tommy DeVito. Last season, we saw Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock, and Tim Boyle. 7 quarterbacks have played over that time period. The data, again, will show, hopefully not, but with the Giants' offensive line still being kind of dog shit, Jameis is probably going to play some snaps for the Giants next year. It just is what it is. And I'm here for it because I am a Jameis guy. I've always loved him throughout his career. And I was explaining it to my wife, who doesn't follow college football like how I did at that time period of my life when Jameis came up, won the Heisman and the national championship with Florida State when they beat Auburn. So Jameis has a special, place in my heart for that time period in college football. He made it better. He was exciting. He was fun. Obviously, he got drafted very high in the draft. I don't know if he went 1 or 2. He went 1, Mariota went 2. I can't remember off the top of my head. But those guys were right there, and he just never kind of evolved into what he was supposed to do at that pick, and that's fine. Extremely likable guy. I just listened to him recently, or a couple months ago, when he was on Theo Vaughn's podcast, which was absolutely hilarious, the two going back and forth. And Jameis is a flawed guy. He recognizes and understands that, and most people are, so it's good to see him, take accountability and try to be a better person for all of that stuff and be a leader. I did think some of his defending of Deshaun Watson that, he had a little bit of wonky quotes after some of the games last year that, you're kind of just like, maybe just don't comment on it. But that's the kind of guy he is. Whenever he's inevitably done playing football, he seems like he has the background to be a pastor somewhere and is going to put on electric sermons on Sundays. So, yeah, and I hope, if we do have to see him play, he's successful, because I'm sick of losing as a Giants fan. So with that, let's turn it over to our next point of contention here is the signing of Russell Wilson that just happened last night. So breaking news. Immediately my gut reaction when I saw it, I was like, this is great. You've already added Jameis. You've re-signed Tommy DeVito. So that's 2 guys there. You're adding a third. I don't know. I was happy with it because this was someone I said, what's up, Immortal? How you doing? Welcome to the chat. I was happy with it because you're getting a proven NFL veteran, an MVP, someone who's won a Super Bowl, again, like Aaron Rodgers a long time ago. So it's kind of a no-brainer to bring in, and especially Russell Wilson still has his legs behind him. The Steelers' offensive line last season wasn't good. The Broncos before that wasn't that good either. So how do I get rid of Immortal Monkey Fan here, because this is annoying as hell. Yeah, so then you have Russell Wilson, who can... Oh man, Alexa's going off. This stream's getting off the rails here.
I'm not quite sure
how man, now she can hear me. This is Inception. So speaking about Russell Wilson, he still has his legs. Something that hasn't gone from him, and he's going to need it behind this Giants offensive line. The Giants also love play action, which I think is perfect for Russell Wilson's game, because if someone's not open downfield, he can just tuck it and go. As they roll him out, they'll have Theo Johnson coming back after his surgery, and this is great news. If I'm Malik Neighbors, regardless if it's for Jameis or Russell Wilson, if I'm Malik Neighbors, if I'm anyone else in the Giants offense, I'm happy about it, because the one thing we finally have for the first time in a while is a quarterback that can actually play the position and be competitive. Something that we haven't had in quite some time. And then on the flip side of things, people were immediately pissed off, being like, why would they do this? They just signed Jameis Winston. I think we've lost a little bit of, when we sign guys, what that actually means. Because Jameis Winston was only given $4 million a year to play quarterback in the NFL. Again, very low from a pay perspective. That kind of signaled to him he wasn't going to be the starter. So bringing in Russell Wilson, paying him what they're paying him, that's borderline starting pay. And I'm of the line of thinking, I think the more guys in this locker room or this quarterback room, the better, because then that will lead us to competition, and with competition, the cream rises to the top. If Jameis Winston's better than Russell Wilson, he's going to play, because Brian Dable's not getting another year if he sucks. This season goes up in flames. Joe Shane might not be getting another year either. So they are going to have to do whatever they can to protect themselves long term, which is winning games now, which is why they signed 2 of these guys that are proven NFL caliber quarterbacks. So it makes sense to me, but I think, the gut reaction of people just being like, I think people just also want to be overly negative and just say, Jameis Winston sucks, Russell Wilson sucks. Yeah, I mean, they are both at the tail end of their career. But you know what that is? That's significantly better of who we had 2 weeks ago. And that's progress in my estimation, in my mind. I mean, did people just want to go into a season with Tommy DeVito, draft whatever, Shedeur Sanders, or the 3rd best quarterback in this draft, and say, it is what it is? I think it's totally fine to go the route that the Giants are going right now, because that is the current situation that they're in. Man, I'm getting distracted left and right here, but yeah, and I think Russell Wilson gives the Giants a chance to win more games than they won last season. Probably the season before that as well. So I think that's a win in my eyes. I don't really understand, if any move the Giants would make here, people were going to say that it sucks. I mean, maybe because they dug themselves into such a hole with the Saquon stuff, with the Daniel Jones stuff. So I don't really know or understand, what would be a winnable scenario for them that would make people happy. I mean, you could look on Giant social media, look at the comments. People are like, this is fucking stupid. So I don't know exactly what would make people happy, but I'm happy. This is a positive signing that makes the team better and makes everyone else on the team better. So what else would you want than that? You just want to go in with Tommy DeVito and say, they didn't make any moves. It's just Tommy DeVito and Shedeur Sanders. So I'm happy about it. If it's Russell Wilson's a starter, if Jameis is a starter, if they still draft Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe later in the end of the first or early second, it's building forward for the future while still trying to win some games now, which I think is always a positive. I'm trying to think what else here because I just got completely off the rails and we're only 11 minutes in. Talking about the upcoming draft, you have 3 quarterbacks in your quarterback room now. All of them have played NFL games. Do you add a quarterback at 3 overall? I think the Giants just bought themselves a window, at least for a year, to not have to draft a quarterback here in a draft that everyone has said is weak anyway. It doesn't have, top tier quarterbacks outside of, maybe Shedeur Sanders, who's, let's be honest, is kind of a question mark. Cam Ward seems to be the top guy. He's going to get drafted 1 overall. So if the Giants can draft Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, you've significantly made your team better right off the bat. And that's for the future. You're going to have guys that could come in, play from day one, and be here, hopefully around for a decade plus. And that's a win, in my estimation. So, I don't know. I'm not going to be negative about this at all until, maybe it's week 7 and Russell Wilson really sucks. Then we say, okay, let's go to Jameis Winston. And then if Jameis Winston sucks, we say, okay, well, we just set ourselves up successfully to probably get Arch Manning in the next draft because the way the Giants seasons have gone the last 2 years, they're picking in the top 5 anyway. So that's my take on it. Maybe Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston or someone else can pull a rabbit out of a hat and have the opportunity to do one of the funniest things ever is come to a team at the end of your career and do something mightily successful with them. Will they do it? I don't know. But regardless, I think it's a step in the right direction compared to what we've done and seen the last 2 years. This is a short one today. I wish it could go a little bit longer, but we're in the middle of moving and all this stuff, and my phone just absolutely blowing up already. So this is probably the last stream in this apartment, last video done in this apartment. We've come a long way, but the next setup will be nice too, so we'll take it from there. Anyway, if you guys joined in, thanks for watching. Chat wasn't very active, besides just Immortal Monkey Fan, who was just spamming. And then Hershey said, I hear what you say, and I think I like it more. That shirt off sexy. That's hilarious. Just one NYG. Peyton Manning in his prime isn't winning 5 games with their schedule. Yeah, that's a great point from my guy, Just One. Giants' schedule is hard as shit. But that's probably why, if they could, I don't know, even if you go 500, that could probably be enough to save Brian Dable and Joe Shane. Unless they really go up in flames. But it is a tough schedule. That's for damn sure. But I gotta run. Thank you guys for joining. And hopefully we get some new ones soon. But I'm pumped about this. I am. I'm not gonna be negative. There's going to be a lot more time to be negative in the future, but off-season stuff, just want to have a good one, bro.